Okay, this is the first lesson for pre-calculus. We're starting off with looking at how you can relate sides of a triangle. So this is essentially setting up ratios in a triangle between the two sides, also known as trigonometric ratios, or abbreviated, they would be trig ratios. All right, so it's just relating two sides of a triangle. So you can go an organized method about it. So we can look at it if we have the side 3 on top of the ratio. So we can relate 3 to the side 4, or we could also relate the side 3 to the side 5. All right, so I like to have an organized approach so that way I guarantee every possibility. Now I can look with 4 on top. I can relate 4 to 3, or I can relate 4 to 5. Lastly, I can have 5 as my numerator. So 5's on top. I can relate 5 to 3 or 5 to 4. So there's no other way to write these ratios and come up with a new ratio. All right, so this is all possible combinations. So there are 6 different ways. So to answer it, how many different ways can you do it? There's 6 different ways, and that's why there's 6 trig functions now, or trig ratios. So in previous courses, you should have worked with sine, cosine, and tangent. All right, so sine is the opposite of our hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent for our hypotenuse, tangent's opposite of our adjacent. All right, there's also reciprocal trig ratios. So for sine, there is cosecant. All right, cosecant is the hypotenuse of our opposite. It is the reciprocal for sine. We would think that cosine and cosecant are reciprocals, but they're not. All right. Also, cosecant is the only one that is not the first 3 letters of the word. All right. Sines abbreviations, the first 3 letters. Cosines, the first 3 letters. Tangents, the first 3 letters. Similarly, when we have secant, it's the first 3 letters, as well as cotangent. Cotangent is the first 3 letters as well. All right, and those are the other 3 trig ratios, which are less common, even in pre-calculus and in calculus. They are not used as frequently as sine, cosine, and tangent, but we're going to acknowledge them, and we're going to graph them. We're going to do a lot of different things with them. But sine and cosine and tangent tend to be more of the focus. They're more of a focus in geometry, and they'll be more of a focus going forward. All right, so if we think in terms of sine, cosine, and tangent, we should be able to recreate those ratios we just had. So remember SOHCAHTOA, so sine's opposite of our hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. And tangent is opposite over adjacent. All right. I also lined up each with its reciprocal. So cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. Cosine has reciprocal of secant. And tangent has the reciprocal cotangent. So once we find sine, cosine, and tangent, we can write the reciprocal pretty quickly just by flipping the numerator and the denominator. All right, so for sine, if we look at theta, the opposite side is 4, hypotenuse is 5. So sine is 4 over 5, which means that cosecant is 5 over 4. All right, for cosine, cosine is the adjacent side, or the hypotenuse. Now, both of these sides are technically adjacent to theta, but since 5 is across from the right angle, that's the hypotenuse, and 3 would be the adjacent side. So we'd have 3 over 5, and secant would be 5 over 3. Finally, tangent's opposite over adjacent. So again, since 5 is the hypotenuse side, the adjacent side is 3. So the tangent would be 4 over 3, and the cotangent would be 3 over 4. All right, so this is a basic review of the trig functions sine, cosine, and tangent, as well as an introduction to the reciprocals cosecant, secant, and cotangent.